live. Obviously, it's an abbreviated clay season this year. Normally, we have 6 weeks leading up to Roland Garros. This year, only 2. Does that make the transition to the clay any harder for the players this year, Jim?
It's basically a mindset, right? If you're ready for it and you believe it's going to be okay, it can be. Players have long been asked to play Davis Cup the week after the U.S. Open on clay. I did it many times in my career. It's not unusual to have to make quick transitions. It's a mentality. If you're positive about it, it can be pretty comfortable. And if you're not, it can be a nightmare. The difference for a lot of these players is because so many of our tour players are European, they're not used to having to make the time change difference when they come to the clay that Americans have always been asked to do.
What about you, Martina? How did you find the transition from hard to clay, and does the shorter season make it tougher for the players?
Well, of course, it makes it more difficult. This is more like what players usually go through between Roland Garros and Wimbledon, going from clay to grass. But it's all about how comfortable you are on that surface and how much mileage you have on that surface. With clay, it's all about footing and, of course, the mindset of grinding it out. But you have more time to hit the ball, but it's the timing of the footwork and hitting the ball. So if you grew up on the surface, the transition's pretty quick. If you're American, it takes a little bit longer. So, yeah, I think the European players definitely have an advantage on this one.
I think Jim had a great point yesterday. You know, why wasn't Wimbledon rescheduled? Well, there's a very narrow window when we can grow the grass. Well, clay is a fickle beast, too. And the clay of autumn and the clay of a time when the sun will be setting quite early, that is different from the hot June clay we're used to in the final week of the French Open. So the clay is the same, but the conditions, I think, are going to be materially different. It'll be interesting to see who adjusts.
The start of the clay season is also going to give us a chance to see some players that we haven't seen since before the hiatus. And for starters, Martina, Ash Barty will be on that list, the world #1, returning to the site of her triumph at Roland Garros last year. Were you among those surprised that the first major Ash got was this one as opposed to a faster surface?
You know, not really, because Ash has that game that translates into any surface, and she gives her more time to get set up for her shots. But yes, I mean, you would think Aussie grass or faster hard courts, but she is good on any surface. It'll be interesting how she does with the heavier balls, lower bounces, etc., which definitely will be the case this year. But at least she gets to defend her title, which is great, and I'm looking forward to seeing her play again.
Barty is among the raft of players that hasn't played a sanctioned match since February. And now she goes and defends the one major she's won. But I think we should point out, these players really impressed me with their professionalism. But we did not see a lot of injuries, a lot of retirement. We did not see players who let themselves go during the hiatus. I think players overall get really high marks for their professionalism these 6 months. And you'd expect Barty to be in that class as well when we see her next.